What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Night YouTube channel. In today's video, guys, I'm going to teach you how to play Hunted Transylvania. This is a Best with One presents a spooky double feature game here, so it comes with two games inside of this VHS case. I've already taught you guys how to play Escape from Route 52. If you missed that video, be sure to go check it out if you want to learn how to play. But in this video, we're playing Hunted Transylvania. So this is a really neat idea, this double feature idea that two games come in one case. Really, really cool. This was included as the solo game of the month in that series of games. So very, very cool stuff. I'm going to teach you guys how to play. We're going to go over all the components, and we're going to do a full playthrough of the game so that you guys can see it in action. So we'll set the box off to the side, and we're going to go over all of the components. The game is primarily a card game. There's some different types of cards, and it will also come with a tracker down this way. It's an energy tracker, and you also have this little cube to track your energy. So to start out, you're going to set your energy tracker to 10 energy. If you ever lose all of your energy and get down to 0 energy, you lose the game. That is the one and only way to lose the game. And then you've got some other cards that come with the game. We've got this little reference card right here that tells you the actions that you can take on your turn, and it also has a combat reference on the other side, which is really handy. We'll set that here. We've got a couple of starting cards here. You've got a hero card, and it'll say hero up in the top right. We've got Joseph Grofsner here on one side of the card, and then we've got Mina Harker is your other hero on the other side of the card. So those are the two characters that you could choose from, and they each have their own unique ability. We're going to play as Joseph in today's playthrough, and I'll read you his ability. It'll make more sense once you actually see how the game is played. Also, I'll say right off the bat, if you're familiar with the Hunted games, any of the games in the Hunted series, like Kobayashi Tower or Mining Colony 415, I want to say it's called. All of those games, they follow very much the same like core rules that are in this game, but there's some little twists and unique things that make it different. But if you're familiar with the Hunted series, a lot of this is gonna be like second nature to you. You'll pick up on it quickly. So anyway, so for Joseph, it says whenever you draw a card for combat, you draw 2 cards. Normally you would draw 1, but this time you get to draw 2 cards and select one to slide under your weapon and either discard the other card or place it back on top of the Hunted deck. And again, that'll make more sense soon enough whenever I explain to you guys how combat works. It's a really neat ability. And then we start with a starting weapon here. It says starting weapon, and it's called the pocket knife. It shows a damage amount up in this top right corner, or like a power amount. Essentially, whenever you're fighting enemies in the game, you're going to either need to equal or exceed their power level with the power level of your weapon. So you get to start with this 3 damage pocket knife here. And then down in the bottom left, it shows how much energy you're going to have to spend depending on if it's your first attack or subsequent attack. So on first attacks, you go off of this top number, you would spend 1 energy. And with subsequent attacks with the pocket knife, you would also spend 1 energy, but other weapons in the game will have different amounts here of energy that you need to spend, depending on if it's your first attack or every subsequent attack after that. Also, it has a little ability that says you can flip this card to gain 1 key for a rescue action, and I'll explain how that works soon enough. If you ever do that, you just flip this card over to this side, and then you've got the busted pocket knife, which is going to cost you 2 energy on the initial attack, and then 1 on every subsequent attack, and its power goes down to 2 from 3. So pretty interesting. So that's your starting weapon right here. And then we've got some other cards up this way. So you've got the Hunted deck, which is going to be the main bulk of the cards here. They have the spooky castle on the back side of the cards with a little moon up in the sky. And these cards are going to consist of all sorts of things like keys that you're going to use to rescue some of the survivors that are in the deck. Let's see if we can find a survivor like the nurse here. So you'll use keys in order to rescue those survivors. You're also going to be fighting against different enemies like the creature right here. There's items that you can pick up like the candelabra. There's another enemy. There's weapons that you can acquire like the rusty sword or the silver dagger. So there's all kinds of different things that you're going to run into in this Hunted deck. That's going to make up the main bulk of the game. You're going to be exploring the Hunted deck. Then you're going to have these location cards, and essentially these location cards serve as a difficulty for the game. There's 4 different difficulties. You could play on easy mode here with the village. So there's going to be 3 of these cards denoted by a 1, 2, and 3 Roman numeral here. So you've got the village, which is easy mode. You've got the castle, which is normal mode, which we're going to be playing in today's playthrough. You've also got the mansion, which is hard mode. And then you've got the graveyard, which is nightmare mode. That is the hardest mode. So again, we're going to use the castle. So I'm going to take these other locations and set them off to the side. We won't need them. And then we've got some finale cards here. So there's going to be 3 different bosses that you could fight against in Hunted Transylvania, and we're going to be fighting against Dracula in today's playthrough. So up in the top, it'll tell you that it's a boss, and in parentheses, it'll say the name of the boss. So we've got Dracula, and then we've also got a couple of minions here for Dracula. We've got Minion 1 of 2, and then Minion 2 of 2, and they say Dracula next to it, so that's how you know that these two minions belong in the Dracula finale. And then we also have some other cards here that say Dracula. We've got an item, a weapon, and a survivor. Again, they all say Dracula next to it, so those 3 cards also get added into the Dracula finale, and those are the 6 cards that make up the Dracula finale. We also have the boss Dorian Gray. He has a couple of minions of his own, Minion 1 of 2 and Minion 2 of 2 for Dorian Gray. He also has this picture of Dorian Gray, and it has his name up in parentheses here, so you know that's part of his finale. We also have a survivor, and we've got a weapon that go with Dorian Gray. So those 6 cards make up the Dorian Gray finale. And then finally, we've got Jekyll and Hyde, the boss, and he also comes with a couple of survivors and a weapon card here as well. And the rulebook that comes with the game explains how you set up the finales for each of these 3 bosses and how they each play. Again, we're going to be playing against Dracula in today's game in the castle. So I think that's cool, man. That's like pretty classic. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. It's not too easy. It's not too hard. We're playing on the normal mode here in the castle with our you know, the classic dude, Dracula, our boy Dracula right here. Cool. So we're going to take our finale cards, the 6 finale cards for Dracula, and we're going to shuffle them up. We're going to give them a little mix, and these are going to get placed above the Hunted deck. So we're going to place these up this way above the Hunted deck. We're also going to take the Hunted deck and shuffle it up, and we're going to have to make our way all the way through the Hunted deck, not once, but 2 times. So the first time you go through the Hunted deck, you're going to go all the way through the deck, and then you're going to shuffle it up if you manage to survive and make it through. And then your second time through the deck, once you shuffle the discard pile to form a new Hunted deck, that deck is going to get placed on top of the finale deck, and then you're going to have to go all the way through the Hunted deck again and try to reach the finale. And the finale will be triggered once you have Dracula and his 2 minions out on the board in the row. So let's go ahead and get this nice and mixed. And, you know, I'll explain this to you guys too, assuming that you've never played any of the Hunted games before. Again, for those of you that have, this is going to be very familiar to you, but for those of you that haven't, I'll explain how all of this works. So you're going to set your deck over this way, your Hunted deck here, and then you're going to take your location cards, and you're going to take the one with the Roman numeral 1. In this case, it's the Great Hall, and it says, while at this location, after you defeat an enemy, you look at the top 3 cards of the Hunted deck, and then you place them back on top in any order. Let's see how many times I forget to do this, guys. We're going to place this one up here at the top of the playing area. The next one, the Throne Room with the Roman numeral 2, we're actually going to take that, and we're going to flip it over, and we're going to put it roughly halfway into the deck here, somewhere around the middle-ish of the deck. And then we're going to take the last one, the Dungeon with the Roman numeral 3, and that's actually going to go in the discard pile. So we're not going to have to face this on our first run through the deck, but whenever we make our way all the way through the deck, that'll get shuffled in, and we'll see it on our second trip through the Hunted deck here. Cool. Okay, so we're basically set up and ready to go, guys. So you've got 4 different actions that you can take on your turn, and again, they're listed here conveniently on this reference card. The actions: you can explore, collect, rescue, and hide. Whenever you explore, you're going to draw a card from the top of the Hunted deck, and you're going to flip it face up, and you're going to place it in this row right here, and you'll start from left and move over to the right. You can collect, so you can discard cards from the row for their resources, which are the icons that are printed in the top left of the card, to collect 1 card from the row for its cost, which are going to be icons printed in the bottom right of the card. And of course, you'll see that in just a moment. You can also rescue, so you can discard 1 or more key cards from your inventory for their key icons to rescue 1 survivor located in the row. So you're going to acquire key cards that go down here into your inventory, and anytime there are survivors in the row, you could choose to spend your keys in order to rescue those survivors. It's like you're unlocking the door to the room that they're in and rescuing them. And then last but not least, you can hide. You can discard all the cards that are in the row, and then you'll reduce your energy by 1 for doing so. And there's going to be some situations where you're definitely going to want to do that, and we'll see that here soon enough. So let's go ahead and start the game. So we're going to take our first action, and we're going to explore, because there's nothing to collect, rescue, or hide from. So we're going to flip our top card over, and we've got a crossbow. Now, there's a bunch of icons on the cards that we're going to go over here. So in the top left, if it ever has a bell like this, that means that it's generating noise. Now, if you ever have 2 or more cards in the row that have bells that are generating noise, and an enemy also gets flipped into the row. There's too much noise being generated. You would have to discard all the cards from the row and then fight that enemy. Also, if you ever have an enemy in the row and a second enemy gets revealed and flipped into the row, you'd have to discard all the cards from the row and fight the enemy that's the strongest among them, the one that has the higher power number in the top right. So in this case, this is generating 1 noise from the crossbow, and it gives us 3 hands. So the other icons up in the top left are the resources that it gives you. And in the bottom right, that's the cost that's required in order to acquire that item. So for the crossbow weapon here, it gives us 3 hands, but it requires 3 boots in order to pick it up. So we're going to go ahead and set that here for now. We don't have any other items to use in order to acquire it, so we're going to flip another. And we've got the mummy here. So this is our first enemy that appears in the row, and it's got a power level of 9 up in the top row. That is pretty gnarly, considering that we only have a pocket knife. We're not going to be able to kill him on our first attempt. And of course, I'll show you how combat works here soon too. So we've got 1 noise generating card, and we also have an enemy. So if we were to flip another noise, which would give us 2 noise, and there's an enemy in play, we would have to fight the enemy. If we flip a second enemy, we would have to fight the enemy, as I just explained a minute ago. So I think it's time to hide. So you would discard all cards in the row and reduce your energy by 1. So let's spend 1 energy. And we're going to discard all of these cards from the row over this way. Let's see if we made a good decision. We did, because we drew another noise, and we would have had to fight that mummy over here had we not hidden from him. So we're going to place this card here. We got the Mystic. This is a survivor. So the way that these survivors work is they all require keys in order for you to rescue them, from 1 to 2 keys. In the case of the Mystic, she requires 2 keys in order for you to rescue her. And some of the key cards will give you 2 keys. Some of them will give you 1. So there are instances where you could use a single key card that's worth 2 keys to rescue a survivor that's worth 2. If you ever use a key card, let's say it gives you 2 keys and you rescue a survivor that only requires 1 key, that extra key is lost. You can't use it to also rescue a second survivor that also requires 1 key. It's just lost. Cool, so we got the Mystic here. She says that after combat, you can exhaust her, or it says exhaust after combat would be triggered to discard up to 2 cards from the row instead. So each of these survivors is going to have an ability that requires you to exhaust them. Once you acquire these survivors in your inventory, you're going to turn them sideways in order to show that they're exhausted and that you've used up their ability, and it's only a 1 time per game ability that you get to use those. Also, these survivors add to the finale at the end. So once we get there, I'll kind of explain how that works in more detail, but to give you a quick rundown of it, essentially once you get to the finale, each of your survivors will form a row out in front of you, and they will kind of stand between you and the boss and the minions, in this case Dracula and his minions. And whenever you would have to spend energy to attack Dracula and his minions, instead of reducing your energy on your tracker over here, you can actually exhaust each of your survivors to count as 1 energy per survivor. So they add energy to you at the end of the game. Even if you've exhausted them during the game for their ability, they become readied up and unexhausted at the end to be used again for energy. So acquiring survivors throughout the game is very, very useful. So the survivor here, the Mystic, she would give us 2 hands, 1 boot, and 1, it's like a magnifying glass, like 1 search icon essentially. So we're going to keep going. That's actually a lot. She gives us a lot of stuff to spend here. So we've got the tonic bottle. You could discard this card to gain +2 energy or re-ready 1 survivor. So like I was just saying, if you ever exhaust a survivor, they're done. You can't use their ability again. But with the tonic bottle, you can discard this card to either gain 2 energy, or you can ready a survivor so that you can use their effect again. So that's a really, really good card. Unfortunately, we can't get it though, because it requires 2 boots and 1 hand, and she gives us 2 hands and 1 boot and 1 search. So the opposite of what we need. So we're going to keep going. Also, we've got 2 noise icons, guys. So if we draw an enemy, we're going to have to fight it. Okay, we didn't draw an enemy. Then that's a cool part of this game, is like there's a push your luck element where it's like, do I want to spend the energy to hide, or do I want to push my luck because your energy is a finite resource? Okay, we drew into the runed blade here. This is a weapon. It gives us 3 hands, and it requires 3 boots in order to acquire it. It looks like we can't get anything just yet, and it's making noise. Do I want to push my luck again? I'm getting kind of greedy. I'm going to push my luck again. Okay, we pushed into another weapon here. This is the candelabra. Now, this is an interesting weapon. There are weapons in the game that have the throwing keyword, And this will make more sense whenever we get into combat, but essentially whenever you are in combat, typically you can only use one weapon. You'll slide one weapon forward to choose that as the weapon that you're using to fight the enemy with. But these weapons that have the throwing keyword can actually be added to that primary weapon by sliding them underneath, and then you would add their damage value to the damage value of your primary weapon, and then typically they'll get thrown away if they say usable once only. If they don't say usable once only, then you can use it again. So we've got the candelabra here. It gives us a hand, and it costs a boot. I think... I kind of want to get that. I think I want to get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard the tonic bottle that gives us a hand and a boot, and we're going to spend it on the candelabra, which requires one boot. So we're going to discard this card over this way. We're also getting rid of a noise, which is really good. And then we're going to scoop up the candelabra, and it's going to go over here into our inventory. Also worth noting too, these little throwing weapons are pretty good. They don't do so much damage, but they cost 0 energy as their first attack. So if you use that for your initial attack, it costs 0, which is really, really good. So then we're going to slide this card down, and we're going to keep exploring. We're going to explore again. And we got a silver dagger. Guys, we're drawing all the noise generating cards. This is crazy. It gives us 2 hands, but it requires 2 boots. And we really need boots. I'm going to push my luck again here. Okay, we got a survivor. We've got the drunk. It says exhaust to discard 1 enemy from the row. That is a really, really good card. He gives us 2 boots. Okay, that's amazing. That is amazing. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the boot from the mystic. And I'm also going to use the 2 boots from the drunk, so that gives us 3 boots, and we're going to pick up the ruined blade, which requires 3 boots. So this weapon has 7 power, and it says you may add +5 attack value at the start of a combat using this weapon. If you do, discard this card at the end of combat. So it says you may, so you don't have to do that, but if you come across an enemy that requires more damage than the 7 that you have, you can add 5 to it. But comes at a cost. You'd have to discard the weapon at the end of combat. So that's a really, really cool weapon. I'm going to set that over here next to our pocket knife. We're going to slide this down. And we've got rid of some noise right there too. So we've got less noise, but we just drew into another one, guys. This is crazy. We're drawing all the noise generating cards. So we got this sacred relic here. It gives us 2 hands and 2 boots. We could actually use that to scoop up the silver dagger. We kind of may as well, just to get rid of the noise on the board. So I think I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to discard this for the 2 boots, and it requires 2 boots to pick up the silver dagger. So it's another weapon. It says if you defeat an enemy using this weapon, remove the enemy card from the game after combat. So instead of them going to the discard pile and then getting shuffled back in to be fought again, you know, your second time through the deck, you just remove them from the game, man. That's really, really cool. So we'll also place that down here. Cool. We got like an assortment of blades down here, guys. Let's keep on going. Also, we have to keep in mind, too, that whenever we fight an enemy, we get to look at the top 3 cards. Or after we defeat an enemy, we get to look at the top 3 cards of the hunted deck and put them back in any order. So we haven't fought anything quite yet. We got some holy water. This is a really, really cool item. It says immediately attach to any weapon in your inventory for +3 attack value. So if we were able to acquire this and say we wanted to attach it to the ruined blade, you would slide the card underneath so that the portion of the card at the bottom that gives you the buff is showing, so the +3 attack value. So that's really, really cool. You can like augment your weapons. Let's keep on going. That's one of the really neat things about this particular hunted game that I haven't seen in any of the other hunted games that I've played. So again, like I mentioned in the beginning, very similar with spending your resources, the noise, all that kind of stuff, the row. It's basically the same game, but it's got some little different things that are tweaked here and there. And that's one of the things I really like about this one, is being able to augment your weapons, which is really, really cool. Okay, we've got a lone key here. We need 2 hands in order to get it, and I think I'm going to do it, guys, because the holy water actually gives us 2 hands, so that's also going to get rid of this noise that we're generating, and it costs 2 hands to get the lone key. So we're going to scoop up the key, and as you can see here, it gives us 1 key. It would have a little number 2 right there if it would give us 2 keys. So we're going to go ahead and scoop up this key, and we're going to use this in order to rescue any survivors that we find in the row if we choose to. Okay, we got an enemy here. We got the Cauldron of Bats. It's got 2 power. Also important to note too, you can't choose to fight enemies whenever you want. I can't be like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and fight this. You can only fight the enemy when it's triggered by either having 2 or more noise in the row and an enemy appears, or by having an enemy in the row and then a second one appears. So it's got to be triggered. So we're going to go ahead and flip again. And we've got the Orphan. See, she requires 2 keys, so we've only got the 1 key. We could use our pocket knife, flip this card to gain 1 key for a rescue action. I think we're going to do that. So we're going to flip this over to gain a key for a rescue action, and we're also going to discard our lone key. So that's 2 keys, and we can pick up the orphan since she requires 2 keys, and it says exhaust to collect 1 item, key, or weapon from the row for free. That is really, really good. So we're going to set her over this way, and we're going to keep exploring. And we've got a throwing axe here. Ooh, I'm kind of tempted to just get it. Yeah, I think we're going to do it. So we're going to exhaust the orphan to collect 1 item, key, or weapon from the row for free. So we'll go ahead and exhaust her and turn her sideways, and we'll collect this weapon, the throwing axe, for free. It's usable once only, and it is a throwing weapon, and we're going to set that here with our candelabra. We've got another throwing weapon. We're going to keep exploring. We've got the nurse. Guys, this is crazy. You would think every card in the deck has noise, generates noise. I'm drawing all of them in a row. Oh, we've got the nurse who says exhaust to gain 3 energy. That is really good. She requires 2 keys. We're going to explore again. And oof, we drew another noise generating card. You can't make it up, guys. I'm literally drawing all the noise cards. So that's 2 noise with an enemy on the board. So we've got to fight the Cauldron of Bats. Cool. So now I get to show you guys how combat works. So we're going to pick one of our weapons as a primary weapon, and we're going to slide it forward. So in this case, I'm going to use the silver dagger, and I'm going to slide it forward. And we can choose to add any of our throwing items or any of our throwing weapons to it for extra damage if we wanted to, by taking them and sliding them underneath and then adding their power value to the power value of our weapon. In this case, we don't need to because the bat only has 2 power and our silver dagger has 5 power. So it says, if you defeat an enemy using this weapon, you remove the enemy card from the game after combat. So you compare your power of your weapon to the power of the enemy. If it's equal to or greater than, you've defeated the enemy. So the 5 is equal to or greater than the 2 of the Cauldron Bats, we defeat the enemy. And since this is our initial attack, we have to lose 1 energy as printed here on that top octagon right there. So we're going to go down to 8. And then we defeat the Cauldron of Bats. And again, if you defeat an enemy using this weapon, you remove it from the game after combat. Let's just say, for instance, for the sake of the tutorial, let's just pretend that this guy had, let's just say he's got 10 power. So that's not enough for our weapon to damage him. And let's just pretend that we didn't have these throwing weapons over here to add to it. In this case, the 5 wouldn't be enough to defeat him. We would still lose the 1 energy, and then we would have to draw the top card of the deck. We would flip it over, and it would slide underneath our weapon. And so just for the sake of the tutorial, we'll flip it. It would slide underneath our weapon like this, and then you would add the power of that card to your weapon. In this case, it would be 8, and the 8 still wouldn't be enough to defeat the 10. But this time, since it's a subsequent attack after the first one, we would lose 2 energy. So we'd have to decrease our energy by 2. Then we would draw the next card. We would flip it over. You'd slide it underneath, and you would do it again. We would add the 3 to the 8 that we have, which is 11, which would defeat the 10, but then we would still have to spend the 2 energy again and lose 2 more energy. So that's essentially how that works in combat. You just keep going until you're able to defeat the enemy or lose all of your energy, in which case you would lose the game. But in this case, we defeated the Cauldron of Bats, and it gets removed from the game because of the silver dagger. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that off to the side over this way, slide our weapon back down, and then we can continue on exploring. So we'll flip the next card. Oh, also, we got to remember, with the Great Hall, it says while at this location, after you defeat an enemy, you look at the top 3 cards of the hunted deck, and then you place them back on top in any order. So let's go ahead and look at the top 3. So we've got a couple of keys, and we've got a kerosene lantern that says usable once only, throwing. It's a 3 damage throwing weapon. This doesn't really matter in this case. This pretty much only matters if there's an enemy, I feel like. So I think, let's see, how do we want to do this? You know what? I kind of do want to pick this up, and I think I want to get rid of this noise. So I'm actually going to put this on top, and we're going to flip this card, and then we're going to flip the next one, and we're going to discard this key ring for the 2 movement icons, since this only requires 1 movement icon to pick up the kerosene lantern, and we get another throwing weapon, guys. Let's freaking go. We got so many throwing weapons down here, and let's keep on exploring. We got a lone key. We've got a flintlock pistol. Ooh. So we need 3 boots in order to get this one. It gives us 3 hand icons. I think I'm actually going to discard this to get rid of that noise and use the 2 hands to grab this lone key. So it gives us 3 hands, and it requires 2 hands to get the lone key. So we'll scoop up the key. I'm actually running out of room. I'm running out of room, guys. We got so many weapons and stuff. We'll put that there. Here, let's move all of our weapons over this way. We have too many weapons. Okay, we got another lone key. It's generating noise. Ooh, we've got the tourist. he's also generating noise, and he requires 1 key. So we're going to discard this lone key, and we're going to pick up the Tourist Survivor. Again, you want to try to get as many survivors as possible because it really helps for the finale at the end. So the Tourist says, exhaust up to 4 cards from the deck, and for each card, either discard it, place it in the row, or place it back on top of the deck in any order. This guy's insane. We're going to go ahead and do this now. So let's go ahead and exhaust him. So we get to draw 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you ever draw into the location card like this, it will go on top of this location card, and you'll draw a card in its place, and you need to finish resolving the action that you're taking before resolving the when revealed action on the location card. So let's go ahead and finish this first. So again, with the Tourist, it says exhaust to draw the 4 cards from the deck, and then for each card, you can either discard it, place it in the row, or place it back on top of the deck, and you can do that in any order. So this Invisible Man enemy, we're going to discard him. This Phantom, we're going to discard him. This guy's insane. That guy is so good. And then we're going to put, let's see. Ooh, we got a Lone Key and Garlic Cloves. I guess we'll just put those out in the row, right? Because we're going to end up drawing into them anyway, basically. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and put those in the row. And then we're going to resolve the Throne Room, which is the second location. So it says, when revealed, draw a card, either discard it or play it to the row. So we're going to draw, and we got another Lone Key. Yeah, we'll just play it to the row. And then it says, while at this location, you may lose 1 energy to draw 3 cards from the hunted deck. If there are any item cards, place 1 in your inventory and discard the rest. So at any time, we can spend an energy to draw the top 3. And yeah, if there are any item cards, we can place 1 in our inventory and discard the rest. Actually seems really powerful. That seems really, really crazy. But, I mean, it comes at a cost of spending energy. And again, if you lose all your energy, you lose the game. So you have to use that sparingly. Okay, we've got 4 noise. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure I shuffled all of the noise-generating cards to the top of the deck. We need to get rid of these before we end up drawing into an enemy. Because if we even draw 1 single enemy, it's going to trigger a combat. So I'm fighting against the glare of my ring light right now to see what is on these cards. So let's see here. This card is really good. The Garlic Cloves, it says discard after you place an enemy in the row to discard the enemy before triggering any combat. So if an enemy enters the row, you can just discard the Garlic Cloves and it just gets rid of the enemy before combat even gets triggered, which is insane. So even if there's another enemy out in the row, or if there's 2 or more noise and you flip an enemy, you could discard the Garlic Cloves and it gets rid of it before it triggers combat. I really want that. We need a boot and 2 hands to get it. We don't have that. We don't have that. Dude, I can't get any of it. I don't think I get... No, because they all require 2 hands. And we don't have 2 hands. All we have is boots. I think I'm going to have to hide, guys. So I'm going to spend an energy, and we're going to hide and discard all of these keys, man, and the garlic. That's brutal. How much you want to bet we're going to draw into an enemy, though? Ooh, we didn't. It's the Butler. Oh, and that's the 2 hands that we needed. But hey, that's part of the game, guys. That is part of the game. So we need a key in order to get them. We just threw away so many keys. Exhaust to gain 1 energy. That is pretty good. We're going to keep exploring. And there we go. A Murder of Crows shows up. So it's only got 3. I'm going to push my luck. And ooh, into the monster. So we've got 2 enemies on board. So we've got to fight the one that has more power. So that's going to be the 7 of the monster here. So we'll discard the rest of the cards. And we got to fight this guy. So I'm going to use my Runed Blade. So we'll slide that card forward. And it says that we may add the +5 attack value at the start of a combat using this weapon. Again, if you do, you have to discard it at the end of the combat. We're not going to do that because we've got 7, and that's equal to or greater than the 7 of the monster. So we're going to look at our top number here, 1. So we're going to have to spend 1 energy. It's going to go down to 6 energy, and we defeat this enemy, and he goes to the grave over this way. We'll slide our weapon back down and keep exploring. I really like how combat works in the game. It's really, really fun. We've got the Wolfman here. Do I want to hide? I feel like we've gotten rid of so many noise cards. We're probably safe. I'm going to push my luck. No! Into another enemy, guys. So we got the creature here. He's got 10 power compared to the 8 of the wolf. So we've got to fight the stronger one. So we've got to fight the creature. I think I'm going to use my Runed Blade. And I'm going to use the Kerosene Lantern and slide it underneath. So again, it's usable once only, and it's a throwing item. So we're going to slide that under here like so. So we've got 10 to the 10 of the creature, and it costs 1 energy in order to attack. So we took it down since we equal or exceed its value there, its power. And again, this is usable once only. So we threw the Kerosene Lantern on him and lit him on fire. So we've got to discard this card and keep on going. I really like those cards too. I like the utility of the throwing items, of the throwing weapons. Again, the combat in this game, really, really fun. Okay, we've got an ancient heirloom here. Discard to use as any 3 symbols for a collect action. Ooh, that is really good. It's making noise like every other card in the game. A rusty sword also making noise. 2 boots to pick this up. We don't really need weapons though. But it is making a lot of noise. So we may as well get it, guys. I'm going to discard the ancient heirloom for the 2 boots and the 1 hand. And we need 2 boots in order to pick up the rusty sword. It's got a power of 6, and it says you lose 1 additional energy per attack if combined with a throwing weapon. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set that down here. We have all the swords, dude. We've got all the blades. We're going to keep exploring. We've got a handheld flare. You can discard after a combat would be triggered to hide instead, and you would lose energy as normal. We've got the ape man. I'm going to push my luck. We've got the key ring. Ooh. No, we can't get either of those items. Do I want to push my luck again? I think I do. I'm going to push my luck again. Okay, we got the rabbit's foot. What is this? Discard after you explore to place the drawn card back on top of the deck before triggering combat. Discard after you explore to place it back on top? Okay, that's interesting. So I guess if you draw into an enemy or a noise card when you decided not to hide, you could put it back on top and then be like, you know what? I think I'm going to hide instead, and then discard the row. That's pretty cool. It gives us a hand icon. We need a boot and a hand in order to pick it up. We don't have that. You know what I could do? I think I'm going to discard the key ring for the 2 boots and the rabbit foot for the hand. So we got 2 boots and a hand, and we need 1 boot and a hand to pick up the handheld flare. So again, you can discard after a combat would be triggered to hide instead and lose energy as normal. So we're going to scoop this guy up here. We're going to slide over the 8 man. We're going to keep exploring. We got a key ring. It's making noise. I'm going to push my luck here. Okay, we got a lone key. We need 2 hands to get this. We need 3 hands to get this. Dude, this is tough, man. I'm going to push my luck again. Okay, we pushed into the priest. Here we go. So we need 2 hand icons in order to scoop up this lone key. I think I'm going to do that. So we're going to get rid of the priest. We're going to scoop up this lone key and add it to our inventory down this way. I really want to get some more survivors. Speaking of, guys, we got the soldier. I'm going to use this 1 lone key, and we need 1 key to scoop up the soldier. And it says you can exhaust to collect 1 weapon card from the row for free. Not that we really need it because we got so many weapons. There is a weapon in the game called the crossbow that does, I think it does +4 damage to, I want to say it does +4 damage to bosses and their minions. So that would be a really cool card to get. So we could potentially get that for free with the survivor here. Let's keep on going. We're going to draw another card. We got the bloody note. You can discard this to draw 2 cards and discard any number of them and then play the rest to the row. Okay, that's pretty neat. We need a boot and a hand to get it. We can't get it. I'm going to keep pushing my luck, dude. This 8 man is just hanging around. Oof. Okay, and we drew into the swarm of rats. So we've got 2 enemies. There's a 1 power on the swarm of rats and 4 on the 8 man. So we got to fight the 8 man. Put those over here. I kind of want to get him with my silver dagger, dude. Yeah, so we're going to use the silver dagger, and it's going to do 5 damage. It's equal to or greater than his 4. And if you defeat an enemy using this weapon, you remove the enemy card from the game after combat, and it requires 1 energy. So we're down to 4 energy. We get to remove this guy from the game over here with the cauldron of bats off to the side. And then we'll put this weapon back down this way. We'll keep on going. Our energy is getting kind of low. We could use this, remember, to spend an energy to look at the top 3 cards. And if there's an item among them, we could place it in an inventory, discard the rest, but it costs an energy to do that. I don't want to do that. So we've got the loose stone, usable once only. It is a throwing item. It only does 1 damage. We're going to go ahead and draw again. And we've got the criminal. It requires 1 key. He says exhaust to collect 1 key card from the row for free. That's pretty cool. And so we've run out of cards, and we've got to take the discard pile and shuffle it up, guys. And then we've got to go through the deck one last time, and we're going to place the deck on top of the finale deck. So by this point, guys, you should definitely be feeling pretty comfortable with the rules of the game. That's basically it, dudes. Again, like I've said several times, if you're familiar with the Hunted games, this is like, oh yeah, okay, I got it. I get this. Like if you've got the game and you haven't played it yet, you should definitely be able to just bust it out, set it up, and go to town at this point, because you've basically seen it all. You've seen how combat works, seen how hiding works, collecting items works, and exploring through the deck as well. The only thing that's left really is to get to the finale, and of course I'll explain that when we get there. Even if we happen to lose the game, I'll still show you guys how that works. Let's go ahead and shuffle up, And we're going to place this on top of the finale cards. And remember, these got shuffled up in the beginning of the game, so we don't know where any of the minions or Dracula or anything like that is. So we're going to plop that right down on top, set that here, and then our goal is to get all the way through the deck to the finale and defeat Dracula and his minions. That is the goal. So we're going to keep on going. We're going to flip the next card. Also worth noting too, you remember in the beginning of the game, we put that number 3 location card on the bottom of the discard pile. It's now shuffled somewhere in the deck, and so we're going to eventually reach that card. We're going to move from the throne room into the next room. Okay, so we got a lone key here. It's generating noise. We need 2 hands in order to pick it up, so we're going to use the one hand of the criminal, and we're going to use the one hand of the loose stone, and we're going to snag this key right here. This lone key, it gives us 1. And we're going to go ahead and flip. We've got the mummy. I also have to remember, too, that I've got this handheld flare in case we need to discard this to hide. And we're going to keep on going. And, ooh, you know, we might do it now, guys, because we just drew another enemy. And so we're going to have to fight the mummy. It says discard after a combat will be triggered to hide instead, and you lose energy as normal. I think I'm just going to do that. So we're going to go ahead and discard this. We're going to hide, so that would discard both of these guys, but we still have to spend the energy anyway. So we're going to go down to 3. Okay, we're going to keep on going. Also want to point out, too, we haven't had to use his ability yet. But remember, it says whenever you draw a card for combat, so that would be like if we failed to defeat the enemy on our first initial attack, and then we had to draw a card from the top of the deck, as I explained earlier, to slide it underneath and add to our damage. You get to draw 2 cards whenever you do that, and select one to slide under the weapon, and then you can either discard the other or put it back on top of the deck. So hopefully that ability makes a little bit more sense now. We just haven't had we haven't run into that yet. We haven't had a situation where we had to use it. We got the flintlock pistol, +2 against enemies. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I think I'm going to keep on going here. We got the Wolfman. This is generating noise. We got an 8 power enemy here. Dudes, we're down to 3 energy, man. It's not looking great, guys. It's not looking great. I'm going to push my luck. Okay, we got the butler. He requires a key to get him. We're going to do it. So we're going to use our lone key. We're going to unlock the door. We're going to save the butler. And the butler says exhaust to gain 1 energy. So we're going to go ahead and do that immediately and go back up to 4 energy. And we're going to go again. And dang, dude, we ran into the swarm of rats again. So we've got 2 enemies. The Wolfman is stronger, so we have to fight him. He's got 8 power here. What do we want to do? What do we want to do? I think I am going to... Let's see, what's our other weapon? The rusty sword? Lose 1 additional energy per attack if combined with the throwing weapon. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I think I'm just going to use the silver dagger. Ooh, yeah, I think I'm going to use the silver dagger, and I'm going to combine the throwing axe with it. And so the throwing axe is usable once only, and it's got the throwing keyword, so we can combine it with our attack. So we've got 9 to the 8 of the Wolfman. So we take down the Wolfman. It's going to require 1 energy in order to attack him. So we go back down to 3, and then this is usable once only. So we discard the throwing axe over this way and put our silver dagger back. Okay, cool. Let's keep on going. We've got the priest. Exhaust to gain 2 energy. We definitely want that, guys. We need a key. Oh my goodness, there's a key. There's a key. Is there any way for us to get the key? I don't think there is right now. There's not. Let's keep on going. We've got holy water. Oh man, it requires 3 hands to pick this up. This gives us 2 hands. I'm going to go again. We've got 2 noise on the board. Let's go, guys. We got another hand with the ancient heirloom. So we're going to use the 1 hand and then the 2 hands here for 3 hands. And it requires 3 to pick up the key ring, and it gives us 2 keys. So we're going to go ahead and scoop this up. And this is a good example of what I explained earlier. Even though this gives us 2 keys and the priest only costs 1, it's basically like the extra key. It just gets burned. You don't get to carry it over. So we're going to go ahead and discard the key ring, and we're going to get the priest, and we're going to exhaust him to gain 2 energy. So he's like the butler, but better. He's like double the butler. So we're going to gain 2 and go up to 5. That's amazing. And we've got 5 survivors now in case we make it to the end. Into the finale, that's going to be 5 extra energy that we have. Let's go again. We've got the kerosene lantern. We've got, ooh, here we go, guys. We drew the dungeon. So this is the 3rd and final location. It says, when revealed, you may discard a key or weapon from your inventory. If you do, gain 2 energy. You know what, guys? We're going to do that. We're going to discard the rusty sword, and we're going to gain 2 energy. That is amazing. So we're going to go up to 7. Nice. And then it also says on the dungeon, while at this location, enemies are at +1 strength. So we're really in it now, guys. This card you really want to draw as late as you possibly can, because now all the enemies are going to be stronger. They're going to have +1 strength. So let's keep on going. And we've got another lone key. It requires 2 hands in order to pick up. We've only got 1 hand here with the kerosene lantern. Let's go again. Ooh, we got the creature. Okay, I'm going to use the key, or I'm going to use the lone key's boot icon here for the kerosene lantern, which requires 1 boot icon. And this is a usable once only throwing item that does 3 damage. And I mainly did that because we got a noise here, and if we draw another noise, it would have triggered this fight. We definitely don't want that. Okay, we got a lone key. No noise on that one. We got another key, a key ring. This one does have noise. Man, this is getting really dicey, guys. This is getting really dicey. I think... Do I want to hide? I think I'm going to hide, man. That creature dude is kind of scaring me. 10 is a high number. So we're going to hide. We're going to discard these. We're going to go again. And good thing we did because we drew into another noise. We got the drunk. Exhaust to discard 1 enemy from the row. That is so good. Oh my goodness. We got the key ring. Dude, more noise. I'm going to push my luck. We've got the garlic cloves. We need a boot and 2 hands to pick it up. We need 3 hands to pick up the keyring. We're going to go again. Oh, man, the crossbow. Yes. Okay, check this out. The soldier, it says exhaust to collect 1 weapon card from the row for free. So we're going to exhaust him, and we're going to get the crossbow for free. This is the weapon I was telling you guys about earlier. It's got 8 strength, and it says +4 against bosses and mini-bosses. This is really, really good to have in the finale. So we're going to scoop that up. Okay, we're still in the same boat, though. We still got 3 noise on the board. Not great. And we drew the murder of crows. And there's a bunch of noise, so we got to fight him. Golly, guys. Brutal. Okay, he's got 3 power. I think I'm going to use the silver dagger just for fun. It doesn't matter at this point because we don't have to go through the deck again. This is really only good the first time you go through the deck. But we'll go ahead and use it. It only requires 1. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw the kerosene lantern at it because it costs 0 energy to do so. It's usable once only. And it does 3 damage. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And the 3, of course, equals or exceeds the murder of crow's strength. Nice. Okay, so we didn't lose any energy. I'd rather conserve my energy as much as possible. We got a skeleton key. Discard to rescue up to 2 survivors from the row. That is a really cool item. We've got the monster. Okay, so we've got an enemy and a noise. We're just going to go for it. Okay, we got the lone key here. Man, this is sketchy, guys. We're going to go again. Oh no, we got another noise, dude. All of these keys jingling around, making a bunch of noise. We've got to fight this guy. He's got 7 power. We're just going to go ahead and take him down with the Ruined Blade, which has 7 power, and it costs 1 energy to fight him. We take him down. Okay, we're at 5 energy. We're doing okay. We're doing okay. I'm not getting too nervous yet, especially because we got a few survivors here to help us in the finale if we make it there. And it looks like we're getting pretty close, guys. I think we might actually make it. We got the nurse. Exhaust to gain 3 energy. Oh my god, she's even better than the priest. That is insane. She is generating noise, though. Ooh, the tonic bottle is also generating noise. Discard to gain 2 energy or ready 1 survivor. That is so good. Please don't draw an enemy. Okay, we got the bloody note. It's giving us a hand. Okay, this is what we're going to do, guys. We're going to discard the nurse. She's giving us... I should have just done this on last turn, but it's okay. She gives us a hand, 2 boots, and a little magnifying glass search icon. So we're going to use that because we need 2 boots and a hand for the bottle. So yeah, she gives us 2 boots and a hand for the tonic bottle. It's an item. And again, it says discard this card to gain 2 energy or re-ready 1 survivor. I don't think we really want to re-ready any of these guys. I think I just want energy, honestly. I mean, this could be good to look at the top 4 cards and discard them. Ooh. I think we want energy, though. Do we? Yeah, I think so. I think we want energy. So let's go with that. We're going to discard this to gain 2 energy. And we're going to go up to 7. That is crazy, guys. Weren't we down to like 3 or something at one point? We're back up to 7. We got the Invisible Man. I'm going to push my luck again here. We got the Sacred Relic. It gives us 2 hands and a movement. I think I'm going to go ahead and discard that for the 2 hands and the 2 boots. And we need one hand and 1 boot to get the Bloody Note. Discard to draw 2 cards. Discard any number of them and play the rest to the row. We're going to go ahead and use that now. So we're going to draw 2 cards. And I don't want to discard either of those. We're going to play the rest of the row. So we got the Rabbit's Foot and the Lone Key. And yeah, we can't get either of those items. So we're going to go ahead and flip again. We've got the Mystic here. I think I want to discard her. Also, she says you can exhaust after a combat would be triggered to discard up to 2 cards from the row instead. That is insanely powerful. I think I want to discard her for her her resources. So yeah, so she's going to give us 2 hands, a boot, and a magnifying glass. And we're going to use the hand and the boot to pick up the rabbit's foot. It's also worth mentioning too, you can only use resources from a card to collect one single card. You can't use the resources from a card to collect more than one card per action. So we're going to pick up the rabbit's foot here because it requires a boot and a hand, and she gave us a boot and 2 hands. And it says discard after you explore to place the drawn card back on top of the deck before triggering combat. So we mentioned that earlier. You can kind of like avoid a combat and potentially hide instead. Okay, we're going to go ahead and flip. We've got Renfield here. Okay, so here we go, guys. We're entering the finale. We got a survivor. It says Dracula. So it says it counts as 2 survivors for the final battle. So as I mentioned earlier, all of your survivors, even the ones that you've exhausted, become readied up again, and you can exhaust them to spend them as energy whenever you're attacking Dracula and his minions, or whatever the boss is and their minions in the finale. But with Renfield, he counts as 2 survivors for the finale, so he counts as like 2 energy. So like if you were to use a weapon, say just for instance, if you use the busted pocket knife as your initial attack and it costs 2 energy, you could tap him or exhaust him to essentially count as 2 energy, which is really good. But we need a key. We need to get this key right here. Let's keep on going. Okay, we got the Chemist's Mixture. It says immediately attached to any weapon in your inventory. The weapon now has attack +4, energy cost is 0 for initial and 1 for subsequent, but it's usable once only. So the weapon would get destroyed after you use it. That's very interesting. It gives us 2 hands and a boot. And guys, we're going to use this. We're going to use the 2 hands and the boot. We need 2 hands to pick up the key. We're going to discard the 1 key since we only need 1 key to get Renfield. And again, he counts as 2 survivors for the final battle. Let's go. That's amazing. That is amazing. We're going to keep going. Okay, we got minion 2 of 2 for Dracula here. The Victim. You lose 1 additional energy per attack when fighting the victim. So these don't count as normal enemies, I don't believe. I think these are only whenever you're fighting Dracula in the finale, if I'm not mistaken here. So even though there's 2 enemies on the board, it doesn't get triggered like it would if there's, you know, because technically he's not an enemy, he's a minion. It doesn't get triggered the same as if there's a second enemy that gets dealt to the board. So you don't trigger combat if you draw a minion and there's an enemy on the board. So we're going to flip again, and we've got the Wooden Stake. It's a weapon. It gives us 3 hands. It requires 3 boots, but I don't think we're actually going to get anything else. And it's crazy, dude. This 13 damage. It's usable only once. We're going to flip again. Okay, we've got Dracula. That's the boss. And we're going to flip again. And we've got the Brides, which is the other minion for Dracula, which says you may not use more than 1 weapon against the Brides. So now that the boss and their 2 minions have been revealed on the row, the finale is triggered and we enter the boss fight, and all the other cards get discarded. So we're going to discard these cards over this way. And then you take the location cards and you flip them face down. You no longer need them. They don't apply anymore. So now we're going to set it up like so. We're going to put the boss up this way, and we're going to put his 2 minions here like so. We're going to take all of our survivors that we got, that we've rescued, and we're going to put them in a line between ourselves and Dracula and his minions. And again, these are going to count as energy for our attacks here in this finale. And now we've got to choose which of these 2 minions we want to fight. So you've got to defeat the minions before you can take on the boss. And of course, the goal of the game is to defeat both the minions and the boss. So we've got to choose which one we want to go up against here. So we've got the Brides. Again, you may not use more than 1 weapon against the Brides. And we've got the Victim. You lose 1 additional energy per attack when fighting the Victim. I think we're going to go for the Victim first. So let's go ahead and fight him. So we'll just set him like this for now. Okay. So again, we're going to lose 1 additional energy per attack when fighting the victim. So we got to think, what do we want to do here? He's got 12. I think now is probably the best time to do this. Check it out, guys. We're going to use the Ruined Blade. It does 7, and you may add +5 attack value at the start of a combat using this weapon. If you do, discard this card at the end of combat. So 5 + 7 is 12, and we need 12 or more in order to defeat him. And again, you lose 1 additional energy per attack. So we don't lose 1, we lose 2. So we can actually take Renfield, since he counts as 2 survivors for the final battle. Turn him to the side, and that's our 2 energy. So rather than spending our energy here, again, we can use our survivors as our energy. So we've defeated this minion. You're going to flip him face down, slide him off to the side, and we've got to discard the Ruined Blade at the end of combat since we used its special ability there. So we'll discard that. And then we've got 1 more minion before we can take on Dracula here. So we're going to go ahead and fight this minion. the brides. You may not use more than one weapon against the brides. So that means that you can't use any of your throwing weapons against the brides. So in this case, we're going to use the crossbow. So the crossbow's got 8 attack, and it says +4 against bosses and mini bosses. So again, as I mentioned earlier, you can see the crossbow is really good to have in the finale here. Great weapon to pick up. So it's going to be doing 12 damage, but we need to do 15 or more, so that's not enough. We need to spend 2 energy in order to attack. So we're going to exhaust 2 more of our survivors. And since we didn't defeat the enemy, we've got to go again. So now we finally get to use Joseph's ability. Whenever you draw a card for combat, you draw 2 cards, select one to slide under your weapon, and either discard the other or place it back on top of the hunted deck. It's also important to note too, you're actually supposed to shuffle up the deck. So I believe, yeah, we discarded, yeah, this card got discarded after. So this would get shuffled up. I'm going to remove all of the Dracula special cards here. There we go. Those will get set off to the side. We'll set them over here. So the discard pile will get shuffled up. So that way, whenever you're in combat, you still have a deck to draw from to augment your weapon damage. So we'll mix these like so. And then again, the Ruined Blade was actually used after. I should have shuffled that up first. So we'll just set this over here in a discard pile down this way. So we're going to go ahead and draw 2 cards with Joseph's ability. And you know what? We'll just use this one. That seems good. We're going to put the other one. We can either discard it or put it back on top of the deck. 5 is not terrible, and I actually know what Dracula's ability is, and I want him to have this, I think. So you'll see why that makes sense in a moment. So I'm going to use the Nurse. We're going to slide that underneath our weapon. So we've got 12 plus 8 is 20. That equals or exceeds the power of the brides here. So we've taken them down. We'll flip them, set them off to the side, and then discard this card like so. And now we're on to the boss, guys. This is it, man. We're fighting Dracula. So Dracula's ability says, absorbs the first card drawn in combat against Dracula. Increase his strength by the value of the absorbed card. You slide the card underneath Dracula instead of your weapon. So you'll see why I made that choice just a moment ago. So we still have to try to fight him here. So we're getting the +4 against bosses and minions. So we've got the 8 + 4 is 12, but he's got a value of 20, dude. He's really strong. So we have to spend our 2 energy. So 1, 2. We only have 1 survivor left until we have to start eating into our own energy. So the 12 isn't enough to defeat Dracula, so now we've got to fight him again. So we've got to draw a card, and again, he absorbs the first card drawn in combat, and you increase his strength by the absorbed amount, and you slide the card underneath him. So there are cards that are lower than 5, but there are other ones that are higher than 5, like the Nurse. 12 is really high, so I wanted to kind of play it safe and give him +5 rather than risk him getting anything higher than that. So that's why I used Joseph's ability to, instead of discarding the card, you could place it back on top of the hunted deck, and I placed it back on top. So now he goes up to 25. So we're going to attack again. It costs 1 energy now. You start looking at the second number for all subsequent attacks after the first. So we spend the 1 energy. We've got our 8 + 4 is 12 against 25. It's not enough, so we've got to go again. So we're going to draw a card off the top of the deck here, and we've got a 7, so we'll place that here. We're going to spend our 1 energy, go down to 6. We got our 12 + 7 is 19. That's not enough, so we have to go again. We're going to draw another card, and oof, not great, guys. We got the loose stone. It only gives 1, so we're going to put that here like so. Okay, so we've got, what is that? We've got the 12 plus 8 now is 22, so we're not quite there. Or I'm sorry, the 8 plus the 12 is 20, so we're going to lose 1 again and go down to 5. Okay, so we're at 20 right now, right? We've got 8 + 4 is 12, plus 7 is 19, plus 1 is 20. Yep. Okay, so we're going to go again. I think we're going to get this. We're going to draw, and we got a 6, dude. So if we add all of our damage up here, that is 26 to the 25 of Dracula, and we have taken him down, and we win the game with 5 energy to spare, guys. Thanks to capturing all of these, or rescuing rather, all of these survivors here. So you can see the survivors are super, super important in order to be able to win the game at the end there. So there it is, guys. There is a full playthrough of Hunted Transylvania, and that's just with 1 boss at just 1 of the locations. There is a lot of replayability in this game. There's even another mode that you could play. I think it's called Monster Mashup. I haven't actually played that mode yet, but essentially I think it combines multiple locations and multiple bosses into the game for like a big blowout where you just fight against everything. Seems really, really cool. So yeah, tons of replay value in the game. Super, super fun. And again, if you like the Hunted games, you're going to be very familiar with this. It's going to be a breeze to whip out and play, and it's awesome, man. I really love the flavor. I love the spooky vibes to the game. I love the combat. Super, super good stuff. So there it is, guys. If you like the video, man, be sure to hit the thumbs up like button down below, hit the red subscribe button, and click the bell so you can stay updated every time I upload brand new videos. And I'm going to have more just straight up playthroughs of Hunted Transylvania coming to the channel. So let me know what you thought of the game, if you enjoyed it, if you plan on picking it up, or if you already have the game, let me know what your experience has been with the game down in the comments below. And I'm sure others who might be on the fence would love to hear your feedback as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, man, and I'll see you guys in the next video.